Hi, this is the Holy Misfits podcast, and my name is Jessica,
And I'm Alex.
and we're going to be talking about mental health, which is something that we've both dealt with in different ways, and it's something that really affects a lot of people.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, a statistic from WHO or the World, I can't say World Health.
World health.
Yeah, World Health Organization. Oh, World. But anyway, from WHO reveals a 13% increase in mental health reporting in the last 10 years, which is kind of crazy because in 2022, an estimated 59.3 million United States American adults have had mental illness of any type, presenting that's basically the 23.1% of the adult population in the United States right now basically says, or not says, but is diagnosed with some type of mental health issue, whether it is anxiety, depression, bipolarism. I don't know how to say that.
Bipolar disorder.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, whoa, halfway through that coming out, and just didn't want to come out.
The whole spiel of disorders.
Yeah, that, and then substance abuse is actually sometimes roped into that, but not always.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just interesting. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how prevalent mental health has become, and I think it's something we should talk about.
Yeah. So mental health is not something that I'm a stranger to. Like, I had a pretty normal childhood when I was young, but then it was like right when I hit puberty, I noticed that my body was just like, we're just going to be depressed all the time. And there's no rhyme or reason for it. Like, for me at least, there wasn't. Like, I would just wake up and I just felt like heaviness all the time.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what happened. If something good happened that day, it was like good with a side of heaviness. So it was like always heavy all the time. And even my mom noticed it. She was just like, yeah, I did notice that once you hit puberty, it was like your body shifted. And then you were like, okay, well, we're depressed all the time. And it was something I don't even think I really picked up on. And it was during a time like 90s, early 2000s where we didn't talk about mental health really.
Yeah.
Not like we do today. It was like you just didn't talk about it, and maybe you saw a therapist or something, but it wasn't like so open like it is now, which is a cool thing that it's open, but it also can be too open at the same time. But I just remember just kind of powering through all the time, and I just was like, I can deal with it. I can just be like this all the time. Like, this is normal. Like, everybody just has a heavy cloud over their heads every single second of the day. And then as I got older, I would have I would have moments where honestly, like, and this is a trigger warning, like, I have struggled with suicidal tendencies in the past. And so I would go through those experiences, and I just thought it was normal, which it's not. And so going through that, and then, like, we got married, met you, still depressed all the time.
Glad I was a contributor to that.
Like, nothing really took that away from me, because it was just, for me, I really think it's just a chemical imbalance for me personally. But at the time, I didn't seek help. I didn't seek any kind of remedy for that, because I was like, it's just a normal part of my life. And then we had our son, and I remember doctors and nurses warning me and being like, you're really susceptible to developing postpartum depression. And I just was like, oh, that's fine. Like, that's just like normal. And they looked at me concerned, and they were like, no, is this something we'd want to get on top of if you experience it? And I just remember being like, no, I can deal with it. I'm used to being depressed. And then once it actually happened for me, it was very different. It was a totally different animal than what I was used to fighting all the time. And it was like for me, I had a traumatic birth where, like, it just got dangerous for me. And then I had it's like almost like a form of PTSD from that, and then was having like hallucinations and like delusions, and I was like in and out of psychosis, which is not great. It's something you should really take seriously. But back then, I just had the same mentality. I was just like, I'll just power through like I always do. So I just kept trying to power through, and it wasn't helpful for me. And it wasn't until later on, after we had gone through our own medical crises with our son, that I just got to the point after that calmed down where I was like, I need to actually get some sort of help, whatever that looks like for me. And for me, like taking antidepressants has been a huge game changer. And it's been something that has made a big difference for me. So yeah, that's my story. It's been night and day since doing that, and like therapy is always something that's great too. And it's really not a one size fits all. It's like whatever is important for you and what works for you.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard you talk that fast for that long before.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I really wanted to be like in it with you and like be like processing with you, but you went so fast that I felt like I couldn't even process everything you just said, to be honest. And like, you totally like, I mean, not that it was bad at all. Like, I mean, I loved hearing you express it because I love hearing you talk about the things you've gone through and stuff like that, because it always gives me, even though like I've been through it with you and I've been here along with you through all of it, it's not the same as like every time hearing it a new time. Like when you're reiterating it or reliving it in a sense, just kind of sharing your story gives me another just glimpse into like what was happening. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I really missed some of those things, or like, wow, like I, you know, not no offense, but I believed the lie that you were like everything's fine, everything's
Yeah.
good. And there was a couple of times I remember in our marriage and or especially early on thinking like, no, this isn't okay. No, this isn't all right.
Yeah.
But you're telling me it is, and you're putting up these stone walls and you're keeping it arm's length. And so I was just like, okay, like obviously like maybe I'm wrong on this. And so I'd let it go. Until like, it probably wasn't until much later that we really kind of connected in that. And I was like, okay, no, like
Yeah.
we really need to hash things out. Um,
Yeah. I really used to put up a lot of walls, and I used to put up this really sturdy, intense front to the world and even to myself. And I think I probably do still do that a little bit, but I'm trying not to as much as I can. And
Yeah, I think you've been doing a great job of that, by the way.
yeah, just trying to be authentic with where I'm at, like showing if I'm not doing okay, but not in a attention seeking way, but just like a hey, this is real and this is where I'm at.
Well, I think even more
Yeah.
so than just that, but like just being genuine with people too.
Yeah.
Like, you and I've had this conversation before about like this whole fortress thing, right? And I've had to explain to other people almost in a way of like just in hope of helping other people understand what's going on, so that way they can understand you better. But yeah, I used to tell you all the time, you build this fortress that looks impenetrable and you look tough and you look good and everything's like, I'm strong and defendable and anything like that. And then eventually when I finally got to peek over the edge of the wall of this castle, that um, I realized it was just an empty like cardboard shell. There was like, it was so hollow and empty and lonely inside. And I was letting myself be fooled in this idea that you had everything figured out, that you
Yeah.
were okay, that you were strong and all this stuff. And once I realized that wasn't true, it made it a little easier to kind of kick that cardboard door in.
Yeah.
and and I say that lightly, you know, as like kicking it in, but we really did go through a lot of like
Yeah.
trial and error and working on finding ways in, so that way I could better support you. And I mean, I know I'm not perfect, but I do feel like I do a little bit better job now at
Yeah, we
supporting
used
you.
to, I feel like we used to just get in terrible fights because you didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening. I was like, why is he bugging me? And I, a lot of times, would convince myself that it was just okay for me to have this wall up all the time. And I had grown up, even as a kid, trying to be like this parental figure for my family and trying to be strong and like an adult when I'm 11.
Yeah.
And trying to show the world that like this is how you're an adult, this is what you do. And that I've become an adult and I'm still doing it. And then we go through different things in our life, and I go through postpartum depression, and that really just
Actually, like before you
really
even
got me.
talk about that though, like I did want to point out something you completely glossed over, and
Really?
not that like I want to like tell you how to live your
I
life or
probably
tell
forgot
your
about
story,
it.
but the thing is like actually during your pregnancy, you had confided to me and a lot of other people that like that was the first time in your entire life that you felt normal,
Yeah.
that like your depression was gone, that you were
Yeah.
like, oh, is this what it's like to not
Mm.
be depressed?
Yeah,
And that was shocking.
that was honestly a wake up call for me. I think that was what started cracking this facade that I was living in. Um, I just when I got pregnant, my I think my hormones just shifted and just balanced themselves out finally, and my body was just all of a sudden like, oh, the cloud's gone. And I remember telling my parents like this it's the strangest thing, like I feel like how I did before, like I went through puberty and all the heaviness happened, and like when I was a kid and I could just enjoy life and not have this weird heaviness that doesn't have anything to do with anything over me all the time. And I got really used to it and I was like, this is awesome. I don't ever want to go back to that. Is this what the rest of the world feels? Like, this is incredible. I feel like a superhero. And I seriously did. I was like, I feel too powerful for this world. And then once I had our son, and that just crashed so dramatically, like everything just crashed. And I remember just crying and being confused because I was like, I don't know what just happened. I went from this great place and this stable emotional area, and then everything just crashed, but it was worse than before I got pregnant. So it was really shocking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's truly whiplash, right? So
Yeah.
you went from like a point of like, okay, here's where I'm operating at, and being able to say this is my baseline,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you walked into pregnancy, and all of a sudden it's like your new baseline was set for 9 months, like for a
Yeah.
year, almost like just shy.
Yeah.
Like you're operating at this level, and you're like, wow, this is so good, and this new level, like unfortunately doesn't stay there as like a backup of like I'm gonna come back and this is where I'm gonna end up at. Like that baseline starts to creep up and it starts to meet you at your new high,
Yeah.
because like you're not, I mean, because that's just what happens over time, and it kind of rises up to meet you where you're at, and so then you get used to this being your baseline. Well, then all of a sudden when your pregnancy dropped and you hit postpartum, it wasn't just boom back down to like where you had been, it was like postpartum. So
Yeah.
like you didn't just rebound to normal, you rebounded farther down, and it was such a whiplash effect because your normal had risen and you were feeling closer to the surface of like this is what I should be experiencing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, not to speak to postpartum depression or anything like that. I'm a dude. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that it affected you so harshly. And I think it's because of that. Like it shoved you all the way back down past below your normal state of existence,
Yeah.
as far as depression goes. And it caused this whiplash effect.
Yeah. And I was like, still, as soon as I was able to again, I was just living full force again. I was thrown back into worship leading, which is what I was doing at the time. And like with that, I had to carry a lot of weight and dealing with being a new mom, and we didn't know we were ever going to have kids. So it was like this new territory. We'd been married for a decade.
Yeah.
So it was a really big deal. And it was very scary feeling. And like you just feel nervous and like, am I doing this right? Is this okay?
Yeah. I mean, literally a decade, 10 years is,
Yeah.
it's funny because I think we tell people that sometimes, like, we waited to have kids for a decade, and people are like, oh, ha ha. I'm like, no, I'm like, it was 10 years.
Not by
It's true.
choice, it just happened.
Not here or there on that, but it just always makes me laugh to think about that. Like when we tell people a decade and people kind of laugh it off, and we're like, no, it was literally 10 years of thinking, like, and having conversations with you, and you just being like, I don't want kids, and me being like, okay, like,
Yeah, and
let's figure this out.
then it seemed like I couldn't have kids, and then it was like, well, that's kind of sad. And
Yeah.
then it's like I was in this weird middle place where I'm like, I technically don't really want to have kids, but now my body is like, you can't have them. So then I was like, well, now I feel like I kind of want them now that I can. So it's like this weird paradox.
Well, it puts you kind of in a state of like, watch me.
Yeah.
I was reading this book this week, and or I guess last week and early this week, but it was kind of talking about those moments of like those challenging moments where it's like when someone's like, like I bet you can't do this. It's like game on. And it's like how that sentiment like sends us like into like competitive mode. Like it's not everyone, but some people. And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely resonate with that. To the point where it's like, hey, like, I mean, it's like dumb, like when we're kids and we're just like, how much you want to bet I can do this or whatever. And it was like, when people are like, oh yeah, you can totally do that. You kind of lose interest. Like, oh, well, that's not fun. But then it's like, people are like, no, you can't eat an entire carton of ice cream in 10 minutes. You're like, watch me. And then like all of a sudden you're invigorated and you want to do it. And you're like, oh, 9 minutes. And it's like, it becomes this thing. And, but it's just fun. Like we chase these highs in the sense of like trying to do the impossible. And so I think part of that, not knowing anything, but like once your body was like, you can't have kids, you're like, watch me, like not consciously, but I think somewhat
I think
like
that's just my
subconsciously.
personality anyway.
Yeah, but I just mean, I think that's part of what it is. But yeah, it's an interesting book.
Yeah, what I realize now that I didn't realize back then, but because I was masking so hard and showing the world that I was fine, when I got to like way lower than I've ever been and dealing with postpartum, I literally was jumping in and out of like a psychosis. Not a full blown one, but it's like I was on the borderline of that, and honestly could have gone back down to that point if I hadn't like really taken initiative and tried to fight it.
Yeah.
But back then I was like showing the whole church, showing like friends and family, oh, I'm great, I'm doing great, I'm the superhero, because I had shown them 9 months worth of like, oh, I'm superhuman, I can deal with everything, my body feels great. Because for me, pregnancy was like, it made my body actually function right for once. So that was great. So I was like, I feel good, like I can conquer the world. And then we have our son, and people kept expecting that level of like this high, and I wasn't there anymore. I was way lower than I've ever been in my life. And so that was hard. And when people hear that I was like that depressed or struggling that hard, a lot of them have been really shocked and like, we had no idea because you were really lying to everybody.
I was lying to
No, I
everyone.
I
Yeah,
was
okay.
like pretty much lying to everybody.
I was like, watch how you say that there. Like,
Why don't you say that?
well, I was saying, I don't really throw under buses.
Yeah, I was pretty much lying to everybody because I was trying to be tough and live up to my own self.
Yeah, and there were several times where I would reach out to people and be like, "Hey, can you reach out to my wife?" And
yeah,
like try and encourage her and strengthen her, like because I was like full back into work and I was trying to be there for you as much as I could, but then like also had like I'm like juggling 2 jobs basically, and
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean it was kind of just crazy, and uh, yeah, just trying to just send people the help and was trying to encourage people like, hey, like she really does need it, even if she says she doesn't. Like,
yeah. And they would reach out, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm good. Like, thanks, though."
yeah, and then I'd hear back from those people like, she said she's good. I'm like, no, she's not. Like,
They're
just keep
gonna see
pushing.
this and be like, "Oh,
Yeah. My experience with mental health is very different than yours is, and we've had this conversation before, but for me, um, like all through high school or like all through life and into high school and everything like that, everything was pretty good. I mean, I grew up in a pretty stable home, pretty stable family. Everything was pretty good. I mean, there's nothing really to complain about. And I mean, we had our typical everyday struggles and stuff like that, but nothing major. And then in the middle of high school, it just kind of was this weird identity crisis thing moment for me. Like um, kind of wanted to reinvent myself, and well, I knew who I wanted to be, and it wasn't who I had been, and so I kind of took some steps to step out of that, and it was kind of an interesting point in life, and burned a lot of bridges with a lot of friends, and made some other really good friends, and it just kind of was like this whirlwind of stuff, and that was fine, but like the whole series or section of my life, I was in control. Like I knew what I wanted to be. I knew how I wanted things to play out. I knew what I wanted my faith to be. I was a Christian. I still am a Christian. That sounds weird to say like that. I was a Christian. No, but I knew what I wanted, and I was being active in it, and I was pursuing it, and I was taking the steps to do things, and I was this kid who I struggled with both sides of this though, like this idea of like, yeah, I want to know my Bible. I want to know who God is. I want to know these things. I want to be this good Christian kid. But I also really hated the stigmatism that I had where it was just like people would talk about doing stuff or hanging out or going to a party or whatever. And they'd be like, oh, should we invite Alex? And it was like, no, he's the good Christian kid. He doesn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And so just feeling like this exclusion from people who were like, I went to youth group with, who I went to church with, who like, I'm like, we go to youth group together. Like we go to church together. How am I the good Christian kid who does nothing wrong? Like it's this weird stigmatism. And really that wasn't the case. I was doing stupid things all the time, but it was just the people I did it with were the people who I kept in a small circle of people. And I did a good job of at different points, kind of in a sense wearing my mask, not like trying to be hypocritical or two-faced, but just like I didn't want to ever be like the goody kid, but I also didn't want to be like the stupid kid doing drugs or anything. Like I never wanted to be that or do that. And I never pursued that, but I definitely had my own struggles with stuff. And kind of got through all that, left high school and went to college. And when I got to college, it was like, literally everything that was in my control or that I'd ever been able to control was just stripped from me. And I was left in this place of like, I don't have a job. I don't have a car. I don't have friends. I had moved to another state, was surrounded. I mean, initially surrounded by family, but like just like a small family, my aunt, uncle, and my little cousins. But that was it. Like,
You didn't have like your sense of identity, basically.
yeah, I didn't. And I mean, in one sense, it's like, yeah, I got to be whoever I wanted to be. I got to help instill more of that idea of like, this is who I want to be, and setting up I mean, you're surrounded by new people.
Yeah.
You don't have any old stigmatisms that are tied to you or anything like that. And I had gone through some backsliding between high school graduation and college. And so it was kind of this awkward thing because I ended up at a Bible college. And by the time I got to Bible college, I was like, I don't even want to be here. Like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. And was like trapped, basically. That's how I felt. Like I was trapped in this and I was like trying to find my way out. And then I was like, well, I don't really feel like there's a way out, but I had this realization that I needed to make a change. And for me, that became, growing in my faith. But it didn't help with the depression. Like it, losing control really started to make me spiral. And I started to notice I had these checkout days or these blank days. And I quickly began to call them the funk. And it's funny because like we talk about this even now, like, but yeah, I'd hit these sessions just the funk and I'd just be like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to move. I don't want to eat. I don't want to play video games. This is college me. So, like very much more like that. I don't want to like make friends. I don't want to go look for a job. I don't want to sit in my room. I don't want to get out of my room. I didn't like, I was living in Southern California. Like the beach was like 20, 30 minutes away and it was like always sunny, always beautiful. And I love getting outside and doing things. And I was like, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do anything. And that was the worst part because like even doing nothing was awful. Like I was like, I don't want to do nothing. Like I wanted literally to do nothing, including doing nothing, which makes no sense.
Reminds me of that Bluey episode. We watched Bluey a lot because we were a child. And Bluey's like, I don't know what I want, but I know I want something. And she's like overwhelmed. And that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, it was kind of similar to that. And even as I found my faith and stuff, just struggling with this feeling of like lack of control and depression and just feeling like though it didn't matter what I did, like just the world kept crashing on me. And I just remember having this moment, and it sounds funny, but just utter despair and like just betrayal. Like watched and felt some things that happened in my life where I was like, just a bad situation happened and there was a fallout between me and a lot of friends. And unfortunately, it was like my word versus someone else. And a lot of people took their word over mine, and that hurt. And I think it hurts much because like for me, loyalty and integrity are like the two biggest things. Like those are my things. Like loyalty, like if you earn my loyalty, and it doesn't take a lot to earn my
I
loyalty.
know, he's like a golden retriever.
No, but if I've chosen to be loyal to you, like I don't cut ties easy. Like I don't, like it takes a lot for me to cut ties with people, but when I do cut ties, like it is
like a big deal.
is yeah, but not only is it a big deal, it's like I don't I mean I give you see me give second tries and third tries
and I'm like begging him, like, please, like just let it go.
I mean, like hundreds of times sometimes. I'm probably not realistically saying that, but like metaphorically speaking, like I will go and go and go. But when I do get to the end of that place, and I'm like, okay, no, like we've got to cut ties, and it's permanent for me. Like it's not that I don't want to extend forgiveness, because I'll forgive people who I've cut ties with, but I'm not going back to that place of hurt and betrayal.
Yeah.
So anyway, that happened, and I just remember sitting there feeling wrecked and betrayed and abandoned. And I literally remember like it caused like this physical pain to happen. I had this stabbing pain in my chest and in my lungs and my heart. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I mean, my stress and depression had manifested itself into like physical, to the point where like I collapsed almost and was just like unable to move. And luckily, I had run into a buddy of mine in the middle of all this happening. I was on campus at the Bible college I was attending, and he got me into his car, and they got me to the hospital. And I was like, wow, like, okay, I still have friends who care about me. And they checked me in, and there was like 3 of us, and they checked me in, and my phone died. And before my phone had died, though, I had like maybe like 10% left of battery. And I remember getting dropped off, so we're sitting in the waiting room, and then all of a sudden it's like they call me back, and I get into a room finally, and I get in the room, and then all the people who took me to the hospital are like, "All right, man, well now we got to go by," and then leaving, and me being like, "I'm at a hospital without my car."
Yeah.
Like my family who I was living with was out of town. And I'm like, and everyone just
You're
left
already
me.
pretty much having a panic attack.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was a panic attack. That it was much more than that, because like it didn't just last for like a short amount of time. It lasted for a week, like where I was dealing with this stuff, and the doctors talked to me, and they gave me some medication, some other stuff like that to kind of help. And but yeah, it was the worst experience of my life. And but I remember like sitting there in the hospital and just being like, what am I going to do? My phone's going to die, and I have no way of connecting with anyone. And luckily, that same guy who drove me to the hospital came back by to check in, and he's like, "Hey, like, do you need anything before we go?" Like, he had left and come back, and he's like, "Hey, I just realized I didn't really check in." I'm like, "Well, my phone's gonna die, and I'm gonna need a ride home," And so he's able to get me home afterwards, and so that was nice. But it was kind of like this weird thing where he left and then had to come back and pick me up, and it was like just totally like a weird feeling of like getting done being at the hospital and like having to wait for someone to pick you up and like not knowing if they were coming back. But anyway, so I got home, some other stuff went down, and it just continued to spiral down. And I remember basically hitting even more rock bottom than that. And I remember falling on my knees and then falling on my face, like just face down on the carpet, and just crying out in anguish, like, I can't handle this. Like, I don't know what's going on. I keep trying to control my life. I keep trying to fix things. I keep trying to make it right. I keep trying to do this, and if nothing is working, and just being so angry and mad, and then just being like, just surrendering, and just saying like, no, like I'm done with this. Like I'm done choosing to be like controlled by my emotions and controlled by this stuff. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know some people don't think this is how things work, but I just remember just being like, I'm done. Like I'm not experiencing this anymore. And it sounds dumb to say it this way, but it's like I chose joy, and just was like, and it was like, and it sounds dumb, but like part of it was like my buddy Cole like calls me up, and he was in Japan, I think at the time. Like we weren't even, yeah, he was in a semester. We were in the same semester, but was like he was in another like the Bible college was cool. They had campuses all over the place, and he was in Japan, and he calls me, and he's just like, "Dude, what's going on?" And he's like, I heard some stuff was going on, and I just wanted to check on you." And I told him what's going on, and he was just like, "Dude, like you got to choose joy." And he's like, "You," and I was like, "Bro," I was like, "Do not give me this Christianese bull crap. Like, do not, like, don't just try to slap a Bible verse or band-aid on me and just well wishes and I'll pray for you and bail on me, because that's kind of how I'd been experiencing things like up to that point." And he's like, "No, dude," like he's listening, like be willing. And at this point, he didn't know. Like, we're talking. This is before FaceTime, right? So he's like,
Yeah.
we're talking. And at this point, like, I had already fallen. I was like face down on the ground. And I'm not exaggerating. Face on the ground and answering this call. And I'm just in pain and I'm just in anguish. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. But no one's home. I'm alone. And I'm answering this call. And he's like, "Dude, just get on your hands and knees and fall before the Lord." I'm like, "Good one, bro. Like, good one, right? Like, cool story, dude." And I'm like, "Well, I'm already here." And he's just like, he's like, "Just cry out to the Lord and ask him, like, just take this from you. Like, if that's what you need." And I'm like, "Okay." So that's what I did. And I was like, "God, I can't handle this." And I know that, like, not to get super religious or anything, but that's my story. Like, I was just like, "God, I can't handle this. Like, I give up control of my life. Like, I'm done trying to force things to happen the way I want to or whatever. And I'm sick and tired of feeling depressed. I'm sick and tired of feeling like non-existence, and this nothingness and this void. I'm like, I don't want this." Like, and I'm thinking that, and my buddy Cole's on the line. He's like, "Dude, you just got to choose joy." He's like, "Joy's a choice, not an emotion." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Joy's a choice, not an emotion." And I was like, "Whatever." And so then he's like, "Choose joy, dude. Just
like
do
a
it.
Theo, bro. Choose joy.
Choose joy, bro." And he kind of was. I mean, he was totally a Theo bro at the time. That's before Theo bros were like a thing. But
Well, they were a thing.
and he's not that way now, which is cool. But yeah. But anyway, but I remember just in that moment and just being like, "No, okay, like, yeah, God, like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to deal with depression anymore. I don't want this anymore. God, I'm choosing joy." And I just remember saying that and just being like, "God, like, I surrender. I'm giving everything up." Like, and I'm not saying this is like how things work all the time. I'm not saying like you do this.
It definitely did not work for me.
No, and I get that, and I know that this isn't everyone's story. I know this is weird, and but I just was like, "No, God, I'm going to choose joy," and so I did, and then I just started living that. Like, I started choosing joy in every situation and everything I did, and it didn't mean that things stopped. Like, and it didn't mean things just got instantly better. But it was like a 9-day switch, like, of just saying, "No, I choose joy. Like, I choose this, and I'm going to walk in it." And
just being intentional.
Yeah, and part of it's probably because I'm super freaking stubborn. Like,
yeah.
and so, like, for me, like, making that choice and be like, "No, like, I'm going to be stubborn in this, and like, I'm going to choose joy. I'm not going to let myself do this." And it doesn't mean I don't have those days. I mean, like, that was like college, and now I'm like several years past college, and it's not even, to me, it's like, it's still a thing where I'm just like, no, I still choose joy. And because of that, like, I don't even know where I'm going with this story, but what I was trying to say is this is like, you know, I still have hard days, and I still have, like, I call it the funk, and it comes in, and like, I'll just be sitting here and I'm just like, "Dude, I don't know what's going on or why it's coming up or how things happen." It just hits me. I'm just like, "Oh," and it's heavy.
We'll just be like doing whatever, and he's like, "I feel the funk," and I'm like, "Oh no!"
But I've gotten good at like knowing when it's here.
He has. He used to not know, and you'd be like living your life, and he'd be so weird all of a sudden, and I'd be like, "What's wrong with you?" And he'd be like, "Nothing. I'm fine."
But the thing is like, people know when I'm in the funk.
Oh, it's obvious
Because
it's like sign.
But it's like funny to me to say this, but like, with that day when I was like, I choose joy, like, my life did change from like that forward. Like, and you've known this and you've said this about me, and like pretty much anyone who has like an intentional friendship with me knows that, like, and I don't mean this in like a bragging way or anything. Like, it feels weird to say, but it's like, but I'm a joyous person. Like, I'm like, let's have fun. Like, I mean, I can be serious. We can have a serious conversation. We can get into serious things. But even in the midst of that, like, I'm still trying to bring joy and laughter and love. And it's like, that's just who I want to be. And that's who I
Yeah, what
radiate
it's
myself.
like
And
to not have that. So you're
yeah,
intentionally choosing that.
I really try to, and so, yeah, like, when I am in the funk, it's like, it because it's like all that joy and that
It's
light
just
and that
gone.
laughter is gone. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
no.
it's really crazy.
And yeah, it's I mean, it's not like I will never say like my depression's gone or anything like that, but it's crazy to me. Like, I think the first time you ever saw me in the funk, you were like, this is not you.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like
what?
I broke it. What
Yeah.
happened?
And I was like, no. And I was like, sorry. And I'm like, this just happens. And you're like,
Yeah,
what do you mean this just
he was like, this
happens?
just happens to me sometimes, and I was like, this is
Yeah.
scary.
And I
Because
know,
for
like,
me, it was constant, and I was like very high functioning depressed, where like I could still do things and stuff, and you wouldn't even really know I was depressed, but inside, I'm like living in this turmoil. So for me, seeing him, and he's like overly happy, like in a genuine way, and then out of nowhere crashes, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this just happens to me." I was like, "Excuse me."
yeah. And it does throw people off, like,
Yeah.
and it's bad because not that going through the funk is bad or having that. I think it's healthy because it's like, it happens, and I process and I deal and I work through it and I come out the other side and like I keep moving, and that's just my thing. But uh what's not healthy is when I used to try and mask it a lot.
Mm.
And what would happen is then I'd be like in the funk for a day and I'd mask it and I would pretend that everything was okay. And like literally most people wouldn't know anything was wrong, but the people who were like close to me were like, dude, no, something's up, right? And even like in the early days of us being together, like that was the thing. Is like I was masking so hard, and you were like, no. And then I finally stopped masking and just let you in and be like, yeah, I'm in the funk, and here's what it is. But when I would mask, it would go, instead of like a day, it'd be like 3 to 5 days
Yeah.
to a week or whatever. And it's because I
You're
wasn't
holding
dealing with it.
everything
Yeah.
in.
And it's dumb because like for me to process it, sometimes it's just vent. Like, it's verbal vomiting, it's yelling, it's just getting it out. And once it's out, it's like, for me, I'm gone, and it's like this weight's gone. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've self medicated with video games or whatever, and like,
Yeah.
just getting my aggression out, like, ah.
He's like
But
killing imaginary things, and I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah, and sometimes it'd be like binging a TV show or cooking something or whatever. But like, yeah,
It's like aggressively whisking.
but it's just some kind of like purge, something to like just get it out. And once it's like I'm like, like, okay, and then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, there's something going on, and then I'm like, and then I process it. And
Usually I just go up to him and I go like this, and then he's like,
yeah,
you're like, I feel better now.
but it's not like that fixes the
Yeah, it
funk,
doesn't
but
fix it, but
but
it's funny.
it's like a check, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
It's my way of being like, hey, check yourself.
yeah, sure. But for me, it does. It's like, okay, no, like, I know I'm in the funk. I know this isn't what I mean to say or do or be, and I need to stop.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives me a place, like, it's not an aggressive or an
Yeah.
attacking way, and it makes me feel loved and supported. It makes me feel like, okay, she knows that something's up, and she's just letting me know in a very, like, not even a verbal way.
Yeah, it's
It's like,
not verbal at all. We don't even say a word.
no, and I think that's the beauty of it, because I think that's what helps the most.
And you've
Is
even tried to do it to me, but it doesn't work the same. I'm just like, what are you
you
doing?
no, you do calm down. You do take a breath for a minute. But what happens is I usually don't realize that you're like in your funk or in your, like, in your lowest moments, until like I put my foot in my mouth a couple of times, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, these are normal things I would have said to you and it would have been okay. And right now you're like biting my head off, and I'm like, we good? And you're like, no, we're not good. I'm like, okay, I put my foot in my mouth. I did the wrong thing. And
I think these things are important to talk about because, like, just because I had like a baseline of depression constantly doesn't mean everybody who struggles with mental health has that. Like, that wasn't
yeah,
your situation. There's plenty of people out there who they have different situations, and it's all valid and real.
yeah. it's funny to me too, because like if I just go out and tell people like, oh yeah, I've dealt with depression, people are like,
Yeah, they don't
no,
believe.
no, and I'm like, bro, you should have seen.
Bro.
I mean, I know I say that, but and I know I say it jokingly, but seriously, like I've dealt with some stuff, and I really don't want to take up too much more time at this point. I know we got to wrap it up in a few minutes,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just want to finish up by saying like whatever it takes for you to be able to get out of the funk. I really recommend you take time to do that. And so next week we're going to meet and we're going to actually talk about um, mental health within the church too, because that is an extension of this conversation about the dangers of mental health being unchecked. And I think one of the coolest things about society right now is mental health is so in the forefront of the thoughts of everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the statistics have risen so much, because it's more on everyone's radar now. So
Yeah.
people are more willing to talk about it, and it's become more of an acceptable thing to talk about.
Well, people see it as a
So
legit thing now.
yeah. So anyway, with that, as my wife likes to say, this is the Holy Misfits. We're around to talk to you guys about some weird stuff, personal stuff, church stuff, every other thing like that. Nothing's ever going to be the same, and everything's going to be different. But so stay tuned with us as next week we meet and we talk about mental health in the church.
I was thinking we were gonna do this monthly, like once a month.
Oh, well then monthly, not weekly. See, I don't know. I'm just here for the ride with this for you guys. So, yeah, that's all we got for you guys.
Bye.